What up? This is the Twice Over Film Club, and I'm your host, Faraz. Today we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence. This episode does contain spoilers, and it also includes some discussion of Ex Machina for obvious reasons. So hopefully you have seen that movie as well. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen and give us a rating and a review. That really helps us out. Follow us at the Twice Over on all the socials to keep up to date on what we're watching, and reach out if you have any movie suggestions for us. Alright, let's get into the episode.
Did you guys read up on the background of this project?
I did, yeah.
How it was Kubrick and...
Yeah. Like it's a brainchild of Stanley Kubrick, really.
Yeah.
Fahad Farhan, what's up, guys?
What's going on?
What's up?
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, or AI, 2001 film, directed by directed by Steven Spielberg. I was going to say Stanley Kubrick because this is actually a brainchild of Stanley Kubrick, except that he passed away, 1999, I believe. So he never got the chance to obviously direct this film himself, but he had let Steven Spielberg know that he would have liked him to work on the project.
Yeah, he thought that the movie agreed with Spielberg's sentimentalities or his whole aesthetic, right? And so
right.
Before passing away, he actually passed the project on to him.
Yeah, and Fahad, you actually chose this movie for Farhan and I to watch. Why did you choose to watch this movie?
Well, I thought it was an interesting sci-fi movie. I've seen the amount of love that Ex Machina has gotten, right? And everyone has agreed that's a pretty smart movie. I thought this went further in examining AI and the whole world building it does with looking at the human AI relationship and examining morals and ethics, right? And the themes to me were the highlight of this movie.
So I was actually going to pick Ex Machina as a movie, but then when you picked this one, I was like, no, I can't do it.
Oh, okay. That's funny, yeah.
You know, I kind of wish we did do Ex Machina, but no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, it's definitely, I mean, this is a very thematically relevant movie, I think, even for today and even 20 years ago. We're talking before Google was really a thing.
Yeah.
Right. And this movie is based on a short story. And the short story, Kubrick started writing this movie, I think, in the mid-70s or early 80s.
Right.
So it's really working off of aged concepts, which might have been brought up to speed by Spielberg, right, as he was in the final stages of production. But it's an impressive movie in how it's quite prescient, right?
Yeah, and Fahad, if I recall correctly, you were bashing Steven Spielberg not too long ago on one of our episodes. I forget.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, so I was surprised that you chose this.
I bashed Spielberg for his over-sentimentality, right? And you guys can agree on that, right? And this movie does have some of those flaws, but from the reading I've done about who was responsible for that, it seems like Spielberg pinned it on Kubrick for those overly sentimental moments in this movie. But it's interesting. Despite all its flaws, it's a very thought-provoking movie, and that's why I chose it.
Absolutely, I agree. Especially for a sci-fi movie, it's. I mean, and we'll see. I mean, but this is definitely one of the more thought-provoking movies I think that we'll ever do, because it was one of the most thought-provoking movies I think that's ever been made.
Oh, really? Okay.
But you really have to sit and think a lot for a lot of the stuff to really soak in.
Yeah, to resonate, right?
To resonate.
Now, was it released in 2001 specifically because of the film 2001, A Space Odyssey, whatever, by Stanley Kubrick?
I don't know. I imagine it took a couple of years to make.
I actually have not seen 2001, A Space Odyssey, so I haven't seen that film. So I don't know if there are any overlap or parallels that I should know about.
I don't believe so.
Yeah,
I saw the movie so long ago. So this is it's kind of a mix of Kubrick and Spielberg. You see some Kubrick in here, you see some Spielberg, you see a lot of Spielberg in this movie. I don't think that this is really like any other Kubrick movie, though. It doesn't have the same kind of effect.
Kubrick's known for those long scenes, which are unflinching. They're just very cold, right? It shares some of those scenes, but in other scenes, it gets away from that. It's like a hodgepodge of both of them.
How many Kubrick movies have we done in this podcast?
We haven't done Clockwork Orange. We haven't done
Clockwork
Shining.
Orange.
Yeah, we haven't done Clockwork, but only one we did for Farhan is...
was the one that we did, yeah.
What was it called?
Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah, Dr. Strangelove.
That's an interesting Kubrick choice, right? Because it's a little bit of a comedy.
It is a comedy, yeah.
It is.
And then the rest are...
But it's very much a Stanley Kubrick movie.
I would say I don't know if I could easily recommend this movie. I'm not sure who it's for. It's a little too mature in the thematic elements like you mentioned. There's a lot to discuss, but
Yeah, too mature for a kid to watch,
yeah,
right?
but the rest of the stuff is like for kids.
So let me explain that. Let me explain my choice a little bit then. I watched this as a 12-year-old, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was just so bizarre. You know, the fever dream sequences of Osmond walking through like the Flesh Fair and then the Rouge City. They were so creative and so out of this world. I was just blown away watching it as a kid. Like the more seedy elements of this movie, you know, you don't, as a kid you don't recognize them, and I guess it can be for both. It can be both for kids and adults.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like you have to kind of go in with childish imagination, but then absorb the thematic elements that are much more adult.
Unlike not unlike other Spielberg movies, this doesn't age. It didn't age particularly well.
Wait, I thought it aged well. You didn't think so?
I think aesthetically it kind of did. I'm saying, well, I guess it doesn't age with the person. In terms of time, I think it aged fine. It's just like, who is it for though? Is it like for that 12 to 15-year-old, or cause it's not for someone under 10? It's too complex for that. And I don't know if it is for someone like an adult who finds a lot of this stuff a little sappy.
It's not. This is not geared towards kids at all. This is way too violent.
It is.
I think the emotional components of it, of the mother not loving the kid the same way the AI loves her, right? That whole unrequited love, that I think will resonate more with mature audiences like adults. But the whole adventure story will resonate, I guess, with everyone, especially so with kids, right? Of this character exploring this futuristic world.
Yeah, but the way it's presented like specifically for kids.
Dude, there's prostitutes in this movie, man. It's not. This is not for kids. 100%. This is for adults. What they're trying to make is, they're trying to make an AI Odyssey
or AI Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. So it's an adult Pinocchio. Pinocchio AI Odyssey. So it is geared towards adults. The reason why I'm saying that this doesn't, what I'm hearing is that this doesn't age well, is because we're now having to ask that question. Where in 2001, nobody was asking that question.
Let's see, it had 2 Oscar nominations. It did not win either. Best Music and Best Effects, Visual Effects.
Really?
Best Effects, Visual Effects makes sense.
Haley Joel Osment, I thought, was nominated for something. Was he not?
Guys, beyond the awards, I remember this movie wasn't received well with general audiences because they were also confused by a lot of it.
So Golden Globe nominations for score, for director, supporting actor Jude Law, but yeah.
So there you go. I know by the general, there's a lot of controversy about this movie. I really don't think that it has aged particularly well. I think it's a lot harder to watch this movie now than it was in 2001. That's like a Spielberg thing. We can't say the same thing for any other Kubrick movie, can we?
Well, do you think it's because the concept is like so much more mature now that it's not as interesting?
Yeah, possibly. You named a couple other movies. You named Ex Machina. I'm sure there's other movies in this category that are a bit more palatable for us to watch because, well, it's not as cringy. There's not as many, plot holes. This is very much like a 90s movie. This seems like a 90s movie to me from the acting perspective, from the dialogue and all of the, all of the stuff that we go through. In those respects, it has not aged well.
Let's go through those things. Let's start with the narrative. I gave the narrative a 60.
I gave it an 80.
I went with a 65.
Yeah, so I thought the narrative was kind of weak. Like, the engagement is like average. It's an interesting story. It's pretty damn long. It's way too dramatic. It's not subtle. It's in your face. The overall storytelling I thought was just bad.
I think the more you watch this movie, the more you start, and this was my experience, just personally, the more I watched it. Like for us, I changed my score 3 times.
For narrative?
For the narrative. For narrative. Because at first I gave this an 85.
Okay.
And then I watched it, and in my second watch, I was like, wait, how did I miss this?
Your second viewing in the span of what, this past month? Or are you talking about your first viewing, like years ago?
No. In the span of a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There was so much that I did think I wasn't paying attention at first. I wasn't paying close enough attention.
Yeah.
And in my second watch of this, I'm just like, I just picked up on plot hole after plot hole after plot hole. Just things that were just, why they made such an effort to enforce certain concepts and then just completely forwent that concept later on.
Such as,
Okay. There's a scene where they're all at the dinner table. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Out of nowhere, the kid just starts cracking up laughing, right?
Oh.
Eerily.
Oh yeah, because the
Yeah.
mom has like spaghetti hanging out of her mouth or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And then they're both laughing, and now everyone is laughing, and then he just stops all of a sudden. And it's just like really creepy, but for some reason the mom and the dad are now enjoying themselves. And that scene, immediately what follows that is her being like, well, shit, I think I love this kid now. Really? That's it? That's what did it?
No,
You know what I mean?
I think
it's
you're-
just him laughing.
I think for them it reminded them of their actual kid who's
Yeah.
in a coma right
That's
now.
the point. But I agree with Farhan. The execution of it is horrendous.
Right. Yeah. No, I understood what they were trying to do. It's just exactly. It just made no sense. And I mean, I can go down my whole list here, but it's just a bunch of stuff like
So
that.
I'm going through the scenes right now. After that spaghetti scene, right, the dinner table scene, she's talking him into bed, and there's blue light, which is a whole motif in itself. She's talking him in, and then she's looking at her comatose son in that same blue light. And then after that moment, she decides to go through with the bonding procedure. What is it? The imprinting procedure.
Yeah, which is like unconditional forever. The kid does nothing else but love you.
Mhm.
That's a lot.
How do you not have a failsafe? Come on, man.
Right? How do you not have a... And by the way, when like the kid acts up, how quickly, she fell in love with the kid so quickly. Like she was like, okay, that's it. Now he's forever gonna be mine. And then how quickly, just after the pool thing, there's no investigation as to what happened at the pool. Just out of nowhere, he took the kid and put him in the pool.
I get what you're saying. Her love seems like all over the place for him, right? At one moment she loves him dearly, and then she just like leaves him. I liken her love to this creature. What's his name? David. Sorry. Let me go back. I liken her love to David to be one of like a human loving a pet at that level. And that's why she's able to leave him in the forest, because he threatens the life of her actual kid.
I didn't even say that she actually loved him. She was just using him as a replacement for her son for the moments that she needed that
He was a
bonding.
rebound, dude. He was a rebound kid.
I'd push back against that. There's actual affection there. That's what they try to portray here. I wouldn't say you don't have to be binary on that, right? There can be a spectrum.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think she cared for him, but she did not. What they're trying to tell us is that she did not love the kid.
Not as much as her own kid. Yeah.
I posit not at all.
Yeah.
She didn't love him.
I don't think it was
And
true.
the film is trying to say that it's impossible for a human to love. For a human to love a robot, which we see love actually all throughout the film. It's just never from her to him. It's from other robots. It's from other beings to him.
So that very first scene, like where that professor's describing his idea of a child robot, and that one assistant or whoever she assigned to, she asks him, like, we can have the robot love the person, but how can we have the person love the robot? And I think that is a major theme that goes throughout the entire movie. Like, or does she, the mom, actually ever love David? I don't think she does.
I think she does.
So what points you to the fact that she does? What makes you think she does?
Just the interactions, right? There's a scene where before she's heading out to a party, she's late for a party. She goes back into her room and she's looking at the perfume situation. And then what happens next? Oh, she gives him the teddy bear, right?
Yeah.
The teddy bear that was beloved by her actual son. Give him some companionship while she's out. And there's other stuff, interaction between them that suggests that, there's actually a loving relationship there.
But she also doesn't want to return him to Cybertronics. She wants
To be destroyed, right?
Yeah, she doesn't want him to be destroyed.
Yeah, but I think that there's a difference between feeling guilt and still caring for somebody, but not like loving them. We think about like the antiquated idea of love, especially in those days, was this unconditional. There wasn't a gradient. It's unconditional. This one thing is love. And once you reach love, like, that's the pinnacle of like feeling or whatever. The way that she loves her kid, she doesn't love him like that. You're right. She treats him like, I wouldn't even say like a pet, just like somebody else's kid that she has to care for.
Farhan, she doesn't treat him like a pet. She treats him as an equal to her actual son, right? Because they're in the same room, they're hanging out.
No. That's what I said. That's why I said not even like a pet. I'm saying she's treating him like as if this is a weird relationship, but she's treating him like it's somebody else's kid that she now has to care for. Definitely not equal to her son.
But still more than a pet.
Yeah. Okay. So we go back to that scene where he's caught cutting her hair, and then her husband, who doesn't love the kid, he starts shaking him, and she's like, "No, stop, right?" Out of concern for him.
Yeah.
But out of concern more for just anybody. She's just a caring human being. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you put somebody else's kid in the house, she would do the same thing. She wouldn't just let him kill some kid or even
hurt.
That's the idea. Hurt somebody.
Yeah.
She's just anti-hurt.
No, man.
So that's why I think that to say that she loved the kid, a stretch, because if she loved him, then you know what she would have done? Gone back to the factory and be like, hey, can you fix this little kink? Why is that not a thing, by the way? Why they can do all this amazing stuff and create this being that's very close to a human, but the only solution, if there's anything that goes wrong, is
destroy.
You have to destroy it. There's no
reprogramming
warranty. Like what's the
yeah. So David, he's one of a kind, right? He's a machine kid.
He's first of a kind, not one of a kind.
He's got this built-in naivety, and that's what leads him to almost drown his brother. I think that's by design that occurred.
Yeah.
That situation is a result of the programming.
What was by design?
That he looks for protection.
Right.
But that he...
And so reprogramming all that out would defeat the purpose of having a childlike AI robot. And so it wasn't a kink. It was actually fundamental to his nature. So it's either get rid of it.
It's not a bug. It's a feature.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I could buy that.
So far, I was actually recently the last couple of weeks editing our 3 Idiots episode, and the one I thought of, I'm like, Steven Spielberg is what Bollywood aspires to be. Like, he's the kind of director that they look at and they're like, that's an American movie. We got to copy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys want to go into the directorial stuff? Spielberg is...
Yeah.
This is hard to comment on because, like Fahad said, Spielberg he said that a lot of the stuff that people find wrong with this movie was Kubrick's idea. Specifically, the ending was Kubrick's idea. Like, that is not a Kubrick ending.
Allegedly Kubrick's, yeah. But then people who are more familiar with the draft that Kubrick wrote said that wasn't it. So, I don't know. I guess.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I guess it's...
So that's why I kind of wanted to explore that, because that's...
So obviously...
is one of the major issues that I have
Yeah.
narratively in this whole
So
thing.
obviously Spielberg is aware of his criticisms, right? And maybe that was just a deflection to make audiences make it known that he's not someone who can be counted on for all the hokey features of this movie, right? That he's known for in his other movies. And that's why I generally dislike his movies.
Right. Because I could see Spielberg doing that ending.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I just can't see. I just
So,
cannot see
let's
Stanley
talk about-
Kubrick ever doing that.
Where do you think Kubrick would have ended that movie?
He would have ended it in the water, with him just asking the lady to begging the lady to turn him into a boy.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like a cold ending.
Yeah.
Right. Not 2,000 years have passed, and now. Oh yeah. I don't want to be a guy that's just talking major crap about this movie all day, narratively.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, needless to say, that ending was a major issue. It was very controversial when it first came out. I remember that being a thing because my brother had this movie on DVD at the time. I remember watching it as a kid and being confused, but being like, I just don't know yet. I don't understand this.
Most
yet.
of the confusion
And
generally
then-
came from perceiving those advanced AI as aliens, right?
Well, no, even just in terms of like, why is this even how
does this
why does he only get a day?
Yeah.
How are they able to recreate everything except for his mom from the stupid DNA thing? Like, that doesn't make any sense. They are able to do all this other stuff. They can't create people just from somebody's thoughts, which most of this kid's thoughts are about his mom.
Like, why not just create another AI, right?
We created it, yeah, but it was stuff like that I remember thinking when I was not a kid, but I would say probably like 15 watching this movie. That's Spielberg stuff. It's just, don't worry about the plot holes. Just look at the overarching picture.
So I want to kind of talk about the writing here because I thought this was the weakest part of the movie. I give it a 50.
Yeah.
I also give it the lowest score of my overall scores. I gave it a 70.
Yeah, I gave it a 60. So we'll agree. Rating is not...
No, man, 70 is saying it's average. It's definitely not average.
That's true. Yeah, I don't think it's average.
It's definitely worse
I
than
agree with
average. It's the most unnatural script like ever for both humans and for robots. How are they going to be able to create AIs that are so realistic, but they can't even give them like proper diction? It was bothering me the entire movie. I hated it.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
we're going to talk about this probably with the acting too, but the acting was horrendous. And I blamed most of it on writing.
Acting. Okay, there's
I don't agree with horrendous, but I think it's pretty. It's inconsistent, just like we've been talking about.
I'd say inconsistent.
Oh my God, are you serious? Okay, what was your guys?
Jude Law was great.
Okay, no, what was your scores for acting? I got 55.
Oh wow, I gave it an 80.
I did an 80 actually.
So
You both gave it 80.
Right.
What?
The parents at the first part of the movie, the parents' acting was terrible.
Yeah.
Osment's acting was great. Jude Law's acting was great. The few actors we met, like at the Flesh Fair, the organizer of the Flesh Fair, that guy was amazing. I forgot his name, but he's in a lot of movies lately.
Yeah, the dude from what's it called? He's in Harry Potter.
Oh yeah,
isn't he?
Mad Mookie or something, right?
Yeah.
Who else was good?
Yeah.
Oh, John Hurt, the AI
The professor.
developer, right? He was great.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
William Hurt, not John.
William
I don't
Hurt.
agree with that. I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
What?
I
You
don't
didn't like his
either.
acting?
No.
No. He is a robot.
What?
Is that your take?
Somebody created him, bro. No, not a. Here's my thing about the acting is this, and like Yusuf asked for when we did Elizabethtown, like how we grade acting. I think it's an important discussion to have because we haven't had that one with you.
Okay.
As with so many movies that we have reviewed, right? Supporting cast, dog shit, right? Terrible. Main actors, there are some shining moments. I do not think that they are great in any respects at all. I think Jude Law is probably the best actor, meaning like he did what he was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Haley Joel Osment, I mean, there are some good moments,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to say it was a great performance overall. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, he was adequate.
And outside of those two, I mean, maybe the Blue Fairy. It was just, but I think it is average. I gave it a score of 80 because.
How about Chris Rock?
Oh my God,
the one
dude.
line for
Why
Chris
is he
Rock.
in this movie?
I don't know. It's amazing though.
What
Wait.
was that?
It's like 10 seconds of Chris Rock being loaded into a cannon and then being shot out at the flash.
Being
fair.
loaded into a cannon and in the spirit of what? Self-preservation. I thought robots didn't have self-preservation.
Oh, they do.
The lady, when she screamed out, robots don't plead for their lives.
Yeah.
Mecha don't plead for their lives. Freaking, of course they do. You just watched Chris Rock do it. You had no issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did they say
You
that?
watched all these other people doing it.
They said that. They said that robots don't have self-preservation.
They
The
said
lady,
that they don't
when,
plead for
when
their
he
life.
when Haley Joel Osment was screaming, he was like, "I'm David. I'm not a robot." And she's like, the first lady who stood up, and she's like, "Mecha don't plead for their lives." As she throw the thing at him.
I just talked that up to them not knowing. Right? It's a bunch of savages, right? Rednecks.
No, but Chris Rock was pleading for his life.
Yeah, when he was being
That's
loaded
exactly
into a
what he was
cannon.
doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's a deterrent. Sorry, that's a what's it called? A detour. But
What were we talking about? Acting, right?
acting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it is average.
Yeah.
And you're still going with an 80? Why'd you go above average then?
Because
I
there
don't
were some
know.
good
I
performances.
don't know.
And then some terrible ones.
The good moments were good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so speaking of Haley Joel Osment, I mean, he plays a good kid robot. You know what I mean? There are times when it was really cringy, but that's just what he was supposed to do, I think.
Yeah, I blame that to the writing.
Yeah.
Like why the hell is he talking like a weirdo? Why not just give him normal lines? He's an advanced
So
robot.
before he was programmed and after he's programmed, there's a huge difference in the way that he speaks, the way that he acts,
Mm-hmm.
the way that not programmed meaning what's the word, imprinted, right? Is that the
Right.
word?
Yeah.
I guess because
Yeah.
the imprinting was supposed to unlock advanced emotions or whatever, advanced programming that could make him more human-like.
So I thought that was interesting, and that's not easy to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was Sixth Sense was after this, right?
Before this.
before this, yeah, a year before.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think that's why he was
Yeah.
cast in those.
No, they were like, okay, let's get a kid. We have we can go with either this kid or
Imagine.
Macaulay Culkin.
some other kid. Oh yeah, Macaulay Culkin. He's like older. He's not gonna work for this. Okay, let's go with the one other kid that we have in Hollywood.
Imagine if they rewrote this movie for an adult. That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. They should remake this movie with the current Haley Joel Osment and.
Oh wow, that'd be creepy.
Like going back to that question of how we rate the acting, like how we perceive it, at least when we're judging it.
Right.
Like for me, right, it's all about how often I get taken out of the movie because the acting is forced, and this movie just had way too many instances of it.
Oh yeah.
I blame a lot of it on the writing because like if you have a terrible script, like it's really hard to act well with a terrible script. But at the same time, I never like the parents, the mom and dad, like I never got into their acting. I never thought there was a scene where I was like, that was flawless acting. I never thought that.
There's no chemistry.
Yeah, it was like either average or terrible. Like it was never better than average.
Yeah.
Jude Law was good. I thought he played the role pretty good. Even acting as a mecha, as a robot, I thought he was pretty good in that, like in those quirkiness that he had to his motions. And yeah, Haley Joel Osment, I didn't have the biggest problem with them. Again, I think most of the times I felt that it was like an awkward scene or a cringy scene, it was because of the writing, not really because of his acting.
Are you changing your score then?
No. I'm still sticking with 55, man. I think it's a very fair score for how many times I was taken out of the movie. I laughed too many times when I shouldn't be laughing, and I was laughing because
100%.
The acting was
100%.
just like terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I'm thinking about the other movies that I've rated acting wise. I mean, I'm probably rating this high.
You definitely are.
Yeah. I probably am. I'm too lazy to kind of go back and change it now. But so I mean, but the thing is that like we also have to take in the time period, right? I know we've done some
man, there's
other
plenty
movies
of good
in this.
movies that are from that time period with great acting. I
Yeah,
really
I mean,
think.
there are.
I think you guys are giving the writing a little too much credit, to be honest.
Writing, I give it a 60.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
gave it
you
a
can say,
70.
but like, it's not average, man. It's definitely not an average script.
Do you want me to revise my score and drop like a point or 5?
No, you don't
yeah,
have
but
to.
if we had
I just
59, dude.
I just think like
59 writing.
the writing was just so terrible. Like I don't know how. Can you guys think of like any decent lines from this movie that was like actually not just thought provoking, but convincing when you were watching it? It was either cringy and like cheesy, over the top, dramatic, and on top of it was like
What did I give?
Bad.
Here's the thing. What did I give 3 Idiots?
Oh yeah,
That's what I'm giving this one.
3 Idiots for writing or acting?
Yeah, writing.
Well, for both, Farhan, you gave it 50.
Okay, I give this a 50 for writing then.
Okay.
I think that's fair, right?
It is.
I mean,
it's as bad as that.
I don't
agree with
usually
you.
go that low. That's my thing. I mean, 60 for me. I don't know. I guess I just have to change my scoring thing. 60 for me is pretty rock bottom.
The whole
It's
point
close.
of our system is to be, I don't know, as like you can go as high or low as you want, depending on what the person wants. They'll get a better reflection of that. So like if you do think the acting is 80, then they'll see like, hey, the acting is good in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But like you don't want them to think that the writing is average when it's not.
Okay, no. So in taking that into account, okay, yeah, I would drop that writing score to a 50. Acting then would be a 70 because I don't know why 80. It's average and then, like it's according to how I rate other movies.
Yeah.
This is no reason for this to be an 80.
Okay.
If good is our measure of acting, then no.
I can do the same thing. Yeah. I can be convinced
You're
to do
gonna
the same
drop your
thing.
acting to 70.
You don't have to do it just because I did it, Fahad.
No, you guys make a good point.
Okay, fine.
Here's the thing, because we know the themes is gonna. I rated.
Yeah, okay.
Should we just go into
the
themes?
Yeah, let's go into
scenes.
themes.
I gave it 100.
Yeah, I gave it a
wow.
95.
I gave it a 90. Yeah, so we do agree the themes here are really strong. And again, that's the point of our system, right? So people could see that the themes in this movie are going to be 90 plus,
Yeah,
obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want them thinking that our writing and acting are like equivalent at any level. Like it's a big drop off from writing and
Right.
acting and themes.
So okay, so here's the thing though. Even I give this 100. If we're counting directing going into each of these, well, then technically this should be a lower score. So
Yeah.
then I'm going to go with the 95.
Go for it. Yeah, that's fine. I
Okay.
mean, direction should be considered in every category.
Right,
Most
right.
heavily under narrative because of storytelling. But,
Right,
yeah.
right. But even still, so I mean, the theme. I mean, this is what I imagine we're going to spend a lot of the time on. They raise an interesting question, which is, why do other beings? Why are they more human than humans are?
Yeah.
Why do
that's-
they have more human sentiments? Why do they have more human tendencies than humans do? We are not humans anymore. That's what they're basically trying to. That's just a really interesting statement to make, and I thought the movie did a really good job of portraying that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, the same question I wrote down was like the main motif here is like what makes a individual real, whether a mecha or a human. By all measures, David is as real as it gets, and I think that's what the professor like tells him too. Like at the end, he's like, "You are real. You have all these emotions in you. You have all these desires. basically you have everything a human being has that makes a human being real. So the question is like, what does it mean to be real?
Yeah.
And then he's chasing. That's what David's chasing the entire movie. He's chasing the ability to be changed from a robot to a real person, so that his mother will love him again. I mean, it's definitely a thought-provoking question. Fahad, what did you think?
You nailed it, right? You guys both nailed it with the interesting questions this movie raises. I thought the one other major question is, what obligation do humans have towards these robots that they've created, right? It's their creation. They've designed them to work within their world, right? These AI robots, they're living in humans' world. They've been adapted to live in their world, but yet a lot of them have been kicked out and defend for themselves with... And we see the scenes at the Flesh Fair where humans they hold these resentful feelings against them, right? Feelings because they think robots are going to replace them.
Yeah, so I think it gets into, so these robots are initially created for a particular purpose. They're not created to replace humans, but to replace like certain functions of humans. So David is created to, be that child for those parents that can't get the license to have a child. And then I think they mentioned, there's server robots, there's nanny robots, there's all these other types of
robots.
Yeah, prostitute robots. So
yeah, they've all been
lover
designed
robots
for a purpose in mind, right?
Yeah. But then I guess the question is like, are they like, how do you design someone so realistic and then cage them into like a specific role? Because I don't know.
Or discard them after that purpose has been fulfilled.
Exactly. Yeah. And I kind of want to say that's exactly what happens to David, right? Because the second Martin is back and he gets healthier, he's no longer like in that wheelchair or anything. He's just like the normal son that he used to be. More or less, that's what the mom does, right? She discards David. She's like, we don't want to destroy you because again, I do love you. I don't want to see you get hurt, but you're not my son, so I need to.
Right.
You've already fulfilled your purpose, which was to be a replacement for my son, but now my son is back, so I don't need you anymore.
Or
cold.
Or you're a danger to my son's life, and that's why I need to get rid of you.
Yeah, but like, why does she think he's a danger to her son's life? Because the pool scene then goes back to a far and says like, why wouldn't you ask a question? Like, what happened at the pool? Why did you throw him in the water? Like, it's not like he was actually trying to hurt him.
Intention doesn't matter. It's what happened.
I think the robots are programmed in a way to not hurt, right?
Sure, maybe this robot.
I mean, yeah, it's not. He's not there's not a violent bone in his body. We're made to believe. So it's not like when he took the scissors there's no ounce of him that was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just gonna stab this chick. Like nothing was like that. And even when he hit nobody. There was nothing violent about him at all. So
it's just the unintentional consequences of his programming.
Yeah, but that's kids do stupid shit like that all the time. Human ones.
A human one would have probably
Martin was
endangered.
an asshole, straight up.
Yeah.
Dude, right?
Yeah, he was.
Honestly, if I was in Joel Osment's shoes, I would.
You'd have murdered that kid.
I would have punched that kid.
Yeah.
I would have tackled him, taken the spinach, and choked him out with the spinach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Martin, the kid, was a good actor. Whoever was playing him,
because he gets us to be angry at him.
The convincing jerk. Yeah.
Anything else for themes or motifs? Because I do want to get into that blue light motif that keeps popping up.
Go for it.
Okay, so we first see the blue light motif where mommy is looking at her comatose son. She's looking at him in his state, and there's blue light emanating from the cryo chamber or whatever. And that's the first time we see it, and it's supposed to be, I think, representative of longing, right? Of something that you desire but can't have. And it appears so many times throughout the movie. It's mostly used with David's character and him wanting to be human, and he seeks out the blue fairy, and the blue fairy is always cast in this blue light.
Well, I didn't pay too much attention to this to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't either. I realized that there was something going on with light, and so there's a lot of spotlight kind of stuff in
a lot of halo.
I don't really know anything about. What does that mean?
A lot of halo lighting, a lot of backlit like scenes.
Yeah,
like it was very bright. I just assumed it was part of the more aesthetic feel of a future dystopian world.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know anything about blue and what that's supposed to be. But well, tell us. Do you?
Yeah, it was just that. It was
Okay.
symbolizing longing. It's used in a couple other scenes. The moon scene where there's almost this desire to chase the moon, right? But then it turns out that one of them was the hotter balloon, and then they learn to question whether or not they should be going after or walking in the direction of the moon. Another time it was used was when the mom's tucking the kids into bed. There's like a blue light around her actual kid, but not around him.
And then he's got the bluest eyes ever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can really go forever on the questions that this poses, you know, because there is a lot. Because I mean, so you kind of mentioned what responsibility do humans have towards these creations that they did.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about the flesh fair, there's two different communities here, right? Maybe I would say three. There's people who are creating the technology and are obsessed with the technology and are in love with it and the possibilities of it. And then there's people who, like the family, that are just kind of indifferent. And then there's people at the flesh fair who are basically anti-vaxxers.
The rednecks.
So
the hicks.
Yeah. So to me, it kind of raises the question of what is our responsibility towards science in general, and how do we responsibly treat, you know, scientific discoveries and things of that nature. Do we respect it or do we not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and how
do we wish that we had gone back and go back to a caveman sort of deal, which is with flesh fair, right? I mean, the flesh fair is people rebelling against progression, arguably. They're rebelling against scientific progression, things that were created to make things more efficient and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, it also comes down to the question, like, are they just afraid of the unknown, or is it sincerely like they believe that they're being replaced? I don't know. I mean, I obviously think it's the former. That's the most common thing. Like, ignorance breeds that kind of activity.
Sure.
And that's Spielberg. That is 100% Spielberg. But name his other movies.
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park. Fear of the Unknown.
Yeah.
Right? E.T. Jaws. All of those movies are about the fear of the unknown, and you have regular people fearing what they don't know about. You know, and sometimes it's warranted. Jaws was Spielberg, right?
Yeah, it was. But
so sometimes it's warranted.
Yeah, going back to that resentment, I don't think it's fear of unknown. They know the quantity AI has been in this world for a while. I think the resentment stems from the fact that AI will outlast humans. Humans occupy this world that's warming. New York is a flooded city. Humans in this world know their time on this earth is limited. AI knows it'll outlast humans, and that's where the conflict comes in. That's why you have places like the Flesh Fair where people are acting out their resentment.
Yeah, I kind of wish, you know what? I do wish that there was more. Okay, so we've kind of trashed this movie a lot, but what would have made this better? In my opinion, it would have been very interesting if there were some robots that turned
against the humans?
Evil, let's say. Okay. They turned against humans. We didn't see any of that.
Or they fought back, we should say. Right?
They what?
If they fought back.
They fought back, and they acted in the self-preservation. Like, they were only worried about themselves, and they were worried about destroying everyone else. I wish we saw a little bit of that. I wish we saw some crime committed by robots. I wish we saw, some stuff like that. All we saw were humans doing the crimes.
Yeah.
We didn't see robots doing anything. I wish we saw a little bit more of that to justify the Flesh Fair people.
Yeah.
Because then you're raising some really interesting questions, right?
Yeah.
Like in should I talk about Ex Machina?
Go ahead.
Like in Ex Machina, that question is raised because you have robots a robot who goes on like a killing spree.
But the intentions of the AI aren't discovered until it's too late. The guy has been conned into helping her.
Yeah.
But AI movies with the robots acting out from the get-go, Terminator, Skynet.
Right.
Are you thinking that extreme or just a little bit more milder? Not it.
No, that's fine too. But even like was iRobot like that? I don't remember.
I think I get what you're saying, Farn. You just wanted some elements of that in the film to just like so that it adds nuance to the argument of like, hey, who is in the right here? Like the human, because the way it's presented, it's like so obvious and clear that these humans are just assholes that are doing this.
Yeah.
And the robots are at zero fault for anything.
Right.
But like, yeah, if they added some nuance to that question, if you had some robots that were actually acting out,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whether it's self-defense or not, but you know, they are.
Yeah.
Or how
creations
about inserting more sympathetic human characters? I think that accomplished the same goal.
Right. We only have the mom, and then we have the dude
Who gets him out of the flesh
that little
fire,
girl,
right?
and the guy who saved him from the cave.
What about the
right?
what about the
right.
the
No.
doctor, William Hurt? His character was a decent guy.
Yeah, I guess so.
But he's also in a different position, right? He's not just like he's the creator of the robot, so it's a different relationship than just like a standard human.
Sure.
That's true.
I think the biggest thing this movie could have done to be better
Mm-hmm.
is the music choice in the.
I love the music.
Really,
Yeah.
it's so cringy. Did the piano ever stop in the entire movie? It was
I
just
didn't notice
piano, then
it.
It got a little dramatic. The strings came in.
I swear I didn't notice it. Was it too much for you?
So I actually like the visuals quite a bit in this movie. So my score for aesthetics is 65, only slightly under average because of the music. Otherwise, like just the visuals by itself are like 80 easy, but the music really pushed it down quite a bit.
To be honest with you, again, talking about the philosophy of our scoring, music doesn't really factor heavily unless it's meant to be a force in the movie. Like we talked about Almost Famous, like we talked about with Elizabethtown. Probably other movies like, La La Land, obviously, right?
Well, for me, it's all about what I feel is distracting to the overall movie. The music was distracting to me in this movie.
I didn't notice it, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Same. I thought it was a pretty
didn't really
nuanced level.
But I don't usually notice music.
Mm.
So, and I don't know. Fahad, do you feel is music usually a huge part of your viewing experience?
Music is going to be a detriment if the music's used in a hammy way, like if the volume's too loud, or if it seems like it's trying to sucker you into feeling a certain way.
How is that not exactly what this movie does? It definitely tries to sucker you into
What I'm
feelings.
saying is the music was used in a complimentary way. I guess you didn't feel the same things I was when watching this movie, and that's why you thought it was manipulative. But I thought
I did, yeah, exactly.
It was more extreme. I thought it was pretty nuanced, and I didn't notice it as much as you. And
what were your guys' aesthetic scores?
I gave it an 85.
I went with an 80.
Okay, so I mean, you guys are obviously weighing the visuals pretty heavily, right? Because those were pretty good, and I think that part actually aged very well.
Outside of
I love the scene where that chick is like, she comes in and she turns to the side and you see her like the inside of her.
oh
head,
yeah,
basically.
that's a pretty iconic scene. I was gonna say the only part where the visuals kind of fall apart, just because the age of the movie, it's the Blue Fairy animation scene towards the very end.
Oh, I was gonna say the whole Dr. No thing, that was lame.
Oh, the projection.
Yeah, that projection was pretty old school looking. But the entire city itself looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, it looked futuristic, and I didn't really notice it. I mean, it didn't look like CGI. I mean, it was, but like, it was done well. What else was like actually really good? Oh, one thing I didn't like was, out of all like the futuristic vehicles, you just had these dirt bikes with like random like flares on it.
Oh yeah.
When they were trying to catch them. I'm like, you couldn't think of a better motorcycle type of vehicle?
Yeah, well, that's a Pinocchio thing. That's from Pinocchio.
What is?
Is it?
Motorcycle?
Or is it not from Pinocchio? It's what's it called, man? It's fairy tale, right? It's being chased by wolves.
Oh yeah. The wolves part, I get that, but I'm just saying the vehicle itself, like in terms of aesthetics, like it was old school, it aged, it didn't look good. It didn't fit with the rest of the movie, which had like futuristic vehicles, all that stuff.
So guys, get this. This movie was made in 2001. The following year, Steven Spielberg, same director, came out with Minority Report, which looks a million years more advanced than this. In the way it's more futuristic looking, right? I don't know what happened between the two movies, but I guess they got so far advanced that Minority Report.
I mean, I do think like at that time, like every year made a huge difference with visual effects.
Well, when did Matrix come out? Think about that, dude.
2000 or 99?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm you know what? I'm kind of rethinking it, and I'm changing my aesthetic score to 70 to average.
Okay.
Because the visuals were the only time I'm just remembering that scene, and I'm letting that scene cloud my vision,
Which one?
if you will. But just of that girl And when she turns to the side, and I'm like, okay, whatever. That does not itself deserve.
Oh, okay.
The city was okay. Like when you guys are talking about the city, it was fine.
It was fine, but I mean, considering 2001, I thought it's pretty good for 2020.
Yeah, I thought they
I
were
think
working within the.
other movies that are in that time. I don't think it is as. I don't think it's as good as it could have been. 100%. There's other movies in that time, I'm sure, that were just way, way better aesthetically.
Even like the dystopian New York City underwater, I thought was pretty cool too.
Oh yeah, that was pretty dope.
easy to do though.
Fine, it could be easy to do. They did it well, so I'm giving them props.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
I thought it did well with the limitations that they had, obviously with CGI. There were just a few scenes that felt dated, but whatever, you know. The original reason why Kubrick didn't make this movie was because he felt that technological limitations with CGI would prevent him from creating a convincing portrait of a futuristic world. Yeah, and Spielberg shortly went after.
That's why he kept holding out on it until it was like
too late for him.
Out of his hands. Yeah.
I wish that Kubrick had just directed this movie. That's what I wish, because I think Spielberg probably also didn't give his all into this movie. Because he probably didn't have to, and he probably had a lot of the work already done for him. He's like, okay,
not just that,
whatever.
He probably had like bad choices to make. As in, like, do I keep this because this is Stanley Kubrick's idea,
right? Or
do I change it because I think this would work better? And he probably had to make a couple choices that maybe didn't work out, but you know, can you really fault him? Maybe he was just trying to keep the original vision that Kubrick had, or at the same time, he was trying to make sure that they took advantage of everything that they had in terms of current technology at 2001. I don't know.
So what I had heard, and this is not something I researched recently, but I remember at some point, like years back, researching the director thing, and Kubrick made it 70s, 80s. He gave it to Spielberg to make, and Spielberg said, "No, this is not up my alley." Or not up my whatever, something like that, right? And
I think you're right that Kubrick did decide early on that he wanted Spielberg to direct it.
So that would be the reason why, if Kubrick did have all the stuff in the original, you know, his script, then it was because he intended for Spielberg to.
Well, as far as the script goes, writers, like, does it really go to him?
I don't know.
The screenplay goes to Steven Spielberg, and then the screen story to Ian Watson. And the short story that the movie is based off of, Brian Aldiss. It does not go, like, nothing mentions Stanley Kubrick.
No, nothing goes to him, but we know that it was completely his project.
Well, and only when he died. We don't know if he wrote, how much of it he wrote. I don't think he probably didn't write much of it. If he had even written a little bit, I think that would have given him some credit. Only to just, like, you know, bolster their reputation a bit. You know, why wouldn't you?
So what did he have? Just the idea of it?
Yeah. I assume that's what it was. Like the overall idea, maybe the overall story arc. But the story arc is coming from the short story, probably, you know, expanded.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we can. I'm not gonna look into it, but if you guys,
if our
you
listeners,
as a listener care to listen to go, you know, look into it, then look into it and let us know.
Yeah, and read the short story too, and tell us how much of this movie is coming out of there.
Yeah,
or
the short story is from 1969.
Okay.
The short story was?
Yeah, it's from 1969.
I know that Blade Runner was adapted from a different author's short story, but it took a lot of creative license, right? So, I mean, this sort of stuff happens.
So that's a good example. When did the first Blade Runner come out?
84,
yeah.
I think. Or 82.
And it's based on
82?
Based on Philip K. Dick's short story, Do Androids Dream or something, of Electric Sheep. I think that's a short story.
Yeah, it came out in 82.
Cool. So overall, what do you guys think? Plot hole after plot hole, but really interesting ideas.
Interesting ideas, interesting questions to think about after the movie is over. Some bad writing, some underwhelming performances in terms of acting.
But a sufficiently good AI movie, right? A sufficiently good sci-fi movie, which it's deeper than a lot of other stuff that's more recent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, yeah, I guess we would just say if you're looking for, you know, the abstract elements, the themes, the ideas and the questions that this movie poses, this is probably a very good watch. If that's the mindset you're going in with. Just don't expect good acting or writing.
Yeah. Expect to be it's cringy at times.
Well, yeah, sci-fi, I feel like you kind of, especially older sci-fi movies, you have to have some leeway with that cringiness aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, it's just hard to know what would be futuristically cool when you're watching a movie that's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Like that Dr. No stuff was cringy.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just Google it.
Ask Siri.
Yeah.
Ask Alexa.
Yeah.
What was back in the day? Was it they had like AOL search, or was Ask Jeeves even a thing at the
Yeah,
time?
it was.
Yes, it was.
That was all
Ask
throughout
Jeeves.
the 90s.
Probably, yeah. All right, guys, I think that's a good spot to leave it.
Cool.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to this production of The Twice Over. If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing and sharing it with a friend. Want to see what your tally is? Check out thetwiceover.com. All the movies we've done are listed there, as well as what we're watching for the current week. Follow us at The Twice Over on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, where you can leave us any suggestions, feedback, or comments. And if you're about it, you can also support us on Patreon. The music you hear on this podcast is from Amerigo Gazaway. You can find his work on Bandcamp and Spotify.